Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure we had quite a good exercise just now, running out the stairs. Give you guys a big round of applause. Give us some round of applause. That's one thing that I like, and one thing I would like to share with all of you. You know, walking does not hurt you. It only hurts your Charles and Keith heels. That's right. Okay, I won't take much of your time. I'd like to invite the first speaker for today. Alright? He's the CEO of ICLIF, and he'll be talking about leadership and what's it to you. Please put your hands together for Mr. Rajeev Peshawaria.
Thank you very much. Wow. You know, I make a living out of speaking. I make a living out of being a student of leadership, but I've never been as humbled as I am today because I'm envious of you all. As Dr. Johan was saying earlier, you all are leaders at such an early stage in your life. And clearly, like he said about himself, when I was your age, I was absolutely not a leader. I would not have woken up on Saturday morning, gotten out of bed to come to something like this, and to do all the wonderful things that you're doing. So I don't know what I can teach you about leadership. The first confession I will make is that I cannot teach you anything about leadership. What I will try to do is give you a few things that I've learned and stories that I have collected over all these years observing leadership. That's all I do. And hopefully that will spark some ideas for you to get even better than what you already are. Hopefully it will also give you some inkling of what Datoshi was saying, which is that, you know, your early leaders, 10 years from now, will you still be leaders? So hopefully these stories will help you with a little bit of that. So with that, let me start without any further ado. The answer is about $80 billion a year. What's the question? Any guesses? The answer is about $80 billion a year. What's the question? By the way, you may want to turn at some point towards this side because the center screen is for some reason not working, and what I'm going to be walking through is going to be on these three screens on the side of you. So don't worry where I am. You'll be able to hear me anyway. So the answer is $80 billion a year. What's the question? Any guesses? Anyone? Yes, ma'am. Training budget. Okay. Any other training budget for what? For training people how to do math and science and all those things. Training budget for leadership. Okay. Who has $80 billion training budget? I want to go to that company. Worldwide. Absolutely right. Give her a round of applause. That's the amount of money that is spent every year on leadership development. That's the amount of money that is spent every year around the world in trying to teach people something that cannot be taught. Yeah? Another one. The answer is 6.5. What's the question? On a scale of 1 to 10, the answer is 6.5. What's the question? And the question is, this is the question posed to CEOs and the entire senior leadership team of big companies when they're together in a room. We ask them, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is at peak potential and 1 is way below potential, how's your organization performing in the marketplace today? And captains of industry themselves admit that they're leaving 35% success at the table by giving me the average answer, 6.5. We've been asking this question for 12 years now. Final one. The answer is 0, 1, or at best 2. What's the question?
Number of children.
What was that?
Children.
Number of children that you might have. Anything above 2 is not a good idea? Okay, all right. Now, that's a good answer to a different question. So, let's try again. The answer is 0, 1, or 2. What's the question? The question is, of all the bosses you've had in your career so far, how many would you call a truly great leader? Yeah? We've asked this question for 12 years now on every continent, in over 100 cities, in conferences like this, and we take a poll. And regardless of whether there are 60-year-olds in the room, the average age is 60, or the average age is 25, or anywhere in between, regardless of whether they are students or whether they are students, you don't have too many bosses at this point in your life, but regardless of whether you're early in your career, late in your career, Regardless of industry, regardless of geography, regardless of culture, the answer in every room is somewhere between, the average answer is somewhere between 0 and 2. So the question is, $80 billion a year is spent on this stuff, and yet people report 0, 1, or at best 2 good leaders they worked for in their entire lifetime. And unfortunately, that's going to be true for your career as well. You'll be lucky if you work for 1. You'll be extremely lucky if you work for 2 good leaders in your entire career. You're going to meet with a lot of bosses, but very, very few good leaders. So where's that $80 billion going, is the question. Those of you, all of you here who are early leaders, you know that leadership is not something that you can learn in a classroom, right? It's a lot more than that. There's something that comes from within. The problem with the 80 billion is, you know what? Is because we try to teach stuff, we try to teach an art as if it were a science. So in most leadership training, it boils down to formulas. You know, leadership is about charisma plus personality, multiply that with power and authority. Then you have to have skills. Of course, you have to have competencies, because the world doesn't move without competency models. You know, every company, once you start working, you'll find that every company has competency models. Do you know what competency models are? Competency models basically say, let me see what made him successful as a leader in the last 10 years. And let's document that behavior, everything he did in the last 10 years, and let's teach that to you. And you know, if you do exactly what he did in the last 10 years, you're going to be a great leader in the next 10 years. I mean, the world is moving so fast today, and we are still looking in the rearview mirror and think we can become leaders like it. In the name of best practice sharing, again, we become copycats. The best part is that leadership is not about formulas. Leadership is an art. Science is about formulas. Mathematics is about formulas. This is not about, but that's what we do. Even something like as internal as emotional intelligence, people have made formulas out of it. Give a consultant a screen or a whiteboard, and within 5 minutes, what does the consultant do? Create a 2x2 grid, and then start dividing life into one of those 4 boxes, and then start teaching you leadership or anything of that sort, right? If only we could learn leadership from 2x2 formulas and things like that. The last, power and authority. My most favorite one, when I ask the question, why are there so few leaders around? And you'll be surprised how many powerful people say this. People in big positions, people with big 3-word titles in front of their name, say, you know what? I know all there is to know about great leadership. I know exactly what great leadership is made up of. I know exactly what to do. But you know what? I'm powerless. Because the people above me, don't let me. I don't have the power. I don't have the authority. You know, my CEO, my senior management just doesn't value this stuff. You want to know what good leadership is? Make me CEO for 1 day. Until then, I'm totally helpless. I don't have the power, I don't have the position, and I don't have the authority. This excuse for leadership, by the way, or the lack of it, is my absolute favorite. Yeah? And I'm going to show you in just 1 minute how untrue that is, and how the fact that, you know, real leadership has absolutely nothing to do with power, position, and authority. How many people believe that? You do. And those who are not convinced about it, watch this video that I'm about to show you. It's a video, a quick clip from an old 1982 multiple Oscar-winning film called Gandhi. Anybody seen the film Gandhi? Some of you have? Okay. Watch Gandhi's funeral. He's about to get shot. And what I want you to do is pay special attention to what the radio reporter is saying about Gandhi's life. And then we'll come back to the subject of if leadership is not any of these things, because definitely leadership is not any of these things, because this definition of leadership is not the definition of a human being. This is the definition of God. So leadership is not any of these things. Let's listen to Gandhi. Let's listen to this reporter and what he's talking about Gandhi's life. And I'll come back to, if it's not any of these things, what is it?